Welcome, everyone, to this first public session of an extraordinary conference here at Yale University, sponsored by the Divinity School and the Center for Faith and Culture there, and the Al-Bayt Institute of Jordan. We're delighted to have you all here for the continuation of a conversation that began this weekend with a workshop at the Divinity School, bringing together Christian and Muslim scholars and ecclesiastical leaders. This conference came about as a response to two major documents that were issued last fall. First of all, a common word issued by 138 of our Muslim leaders, our brothers in faith in Islam, who challenged us as Christians to think seriously about those things that we share in common, a love of God and a love of neighbor. Scholars here at Yale responded briefly with a document on love of God and neighbor. And out of these two documents has emerged the series of conferences that begin with this conference at Yale. A new era, we hope, is dawning in Christian-Muslim relations because of these two extraordinary statements. In order to move this document and this process along, we have with us tonight one of the major figures in American politics. Graduate of Yale College of the class of 1966, and also a graduate of Boston College Law School in 1976. Senator Kerry was first of all elected to the lieutenant governorship of Massachusetts and has then been elected to the Senate, where he's won 4 terms. And he's been serving on the Foreign Relations Committee for more than 20 years. He's made more than 20 trips to the Middle East. He's been intimately involved in many of the issues that have been on the table for this conference. Most recently, he has met with King Abdullah in Jordan to discuss the issues of Christian-Muslim reconciliation and the relationship between religion and politics. We're delighted to have with us tonight this extraordinary Yale alum and this extraordinary leader of American politics, and we are looking forward very much to his remarks on the subject of this conference. Senator Kerry, welcome.
Thank you very, very much, Miroslav. Thank you. Miroslav, thank you very, very much for your kind introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests all, I was looking at the guest list, and this is a remarkable group of incredibly influential and thoughtful people, and I feel very privileged to be able to have an opportunity to share some thoughts with you. I want to thank His Royal Highness Prince Ghazi bin Mohammed of Jordan, and of course President Levin of Yale, and Dean Attridge and Joseph Cumming for asking me to be here, and really for inviting all of you here to engage in this remarkable dialogue, a common word. And I look forward very, very much to our discussion. Let me just begin by telling you that it's a very strange thing for me to walk back into this room, particularly in the summertime when there are no students here. I've never been here when there are no students here. But I spent many a lecture sitting sort of back up in there, pretending that I was awake, and trying very hard to learn something. But this room was the room in which we often debated. I remember I was on the debating team, and we had a great debate from right here with our friends at Cambridge University in England, the first ever transatlantic phone call for a debate. Today it would be video conferenced and video text and DVD'd and entirely re-repeated. But I also, in this room, challenged the then president of Yale University, Kingman Brewster, on the subject of the war in Vietnam. And I remember quoting to him Dante's comments that the greatest places in hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crisis maintain their neutrality. And he promptly got up and maintained his neutrality. I really can't emphasize enough how important this discussion is. And it's why I wanted to take time to come here tonight, even though the Senate is in session in our last week, and we are embroiled in some very tough issues. But to me, this meeting is a meeting that can help change the world. And so I congratulate those of you who have traveled from afar, and I congratulate those of you who have come from various parts of our own country, understanding how important this dialogue is. The American novelist Michael Chabon recently asked, is there anybody else who feels that it might be best if we just started the 21st century over again? As someone who narrowly lost the presidency in 2004, I try very hard not to worry about do-overs. And I do mean try very hard. But as a person of faith, it's hard to avoid a sense of regret about all the ground that we've lost in a few short years in our quest for interfaith tolerance and understanding. We've barely broken the seal on the 21st century, but already it's been marked by, well, not just by burning buildings and occupying armies and riots and roiling images of bloodshed and humiliation, but also by an even deeper and more widespread worry, by a question you hear whispered, spoken quietly in the shadows. What if we can't live together? What if the gulf that separates us is unbridgeable? Maybe we just need higher walls and more visas. Maybe coexistence is just too difficult. Well, demagogues will play cynically to this pessimism, but most leaders of good conscience and most people of real faith, I believe, talk otherwise. They believe that we can and we must, and God willing, we will find a way to live together better than we have, and that is why you're here. That's what brings you here, that faith. You've placed yourselves among those who are looking to be on the right side of this debate, and as a result, to put all of ourselves on the right side of history. In a world where today a Catholic, a Protestant, a Russian Orthodox Christian, a Confucian ex-communist, a Hindu, a Muslim, and many assume a Jewish finger, all sit on a nuclear button. It's a delusion to believe that we can somehow retreat to our safe spaces. Not when Christians, Hindus, and Muslims number in the billions. Not when Islam is the second largest faith in Europe and the third largest in America. Not when people of all faiths are migrating and mingling as never before. Gallup says that there are 1.3 billion Muslims worldwide. The Vatican recently announced that there are more Muslims than there are Catholics. And this reality, the reality is that our faiths and our fates are inextricably intertwined. The poet Auden said it best, and very simply, we must love one another or die. It's a delusion to think that we have any choice but to find a way to live together. The question of this kind of tolerance, frankly, isn't new. And it's not one that Americans have come to without our own experience, ladies and gentlemen. We've struggled with this since our founding. And our founding has its roots in the search for religious freedom. The quest for religious truth and the challenge of peaceful coexistence is written into the fabric of our country and the history of the world, and even into my own family DNA. A fellow by the name of John Winthrop, my great-grandfather 8 times over, meaning 10 generations ago, was the son of a lawyer born in England. His passionate faith and the disagreements with the Anglican Church inspired him to lead a ship full of religious dissidents across the Atlantic to America to seek freedom to worship. On the deck of the ship they came over, the Arabella,